also know you're not here to hear me, so I will make it really quick as well. I'm going from this presentation. This is mine. I'm Steve Camarota, and I'm just going to go very briefly over a couple of quick basic and economic and demographic issues for you. If you look at the first slide, you can see what's been going on in the U.S. labor market. It's important to understand that the Senate bill and the things that Republicans support doubles legal immigration, doubles both permanent legal immigration and the numbers of guest workers at a time, as you can see, every category of worker in the United States is working less and less. The share of working age people, whether they're high school dropouts or have a college degree, is much less than it was. We have now a record of about 16 million working age American citizens. These are people under age 65, but over age, say, 18, who are not working right now. That's about 16, 17 million more than, say, in 2000. So we have this massive decline in work. At the same time that employers tell us they need more and more workers, you see the wage data on the other side, which shows no wage growth for about 12 years. And actually, if you update it to 2013, it's 13 years with very little wage growth across the labor market. And we all know if there really was this shortage that business is always pushing for more and more workers, wages should be rising rapidly. That's exactly contrary to what's been happening. I often say, I testify before Congress a lot, only in Congress is there a labor shortage. Out there in America, nobody else thinks that there's a labor shortage. Real wages for any job you care to name, whether it's in STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, they've experienced about a 0.5 annual increase in wages, and people at the bottom, their wages have generally declined. So there's no evidence of a labor shortage, whether we're talking about nannies, maids, busboys, meat packers. Every education category, and this is true for men, women, blacks, Hispanics, and every age category. I can go on and on, but the bottom line is people are working less, and they are either making less or making about the same. There is zero evidence across the labor market of a labor shortage. Now, this one slide I can't help but show you, even though I picked a poor color, very briefly. What this shows is that all of the job growth since 2000, the net gain in employment is probably the better way to say it, has gone to the foreign-born. It's the greatest story never told. Andrew Sum at Northeastern University is the primary researcher who originally identified this trend. Basically, what this somewhat convoluted chart is supposed to show you is that the growth in the working age, 16 to 65, about 8.7 million more immigrants are here now than in 2000, and about 4.6 million of them have a job. So 4.6 million more have a job. Of the native-born population, it grew 16.2 million over this time period, and there are actually 500,000 fewer holding a job. In other words, there was about 4 million growth in jobs. We have about 4 million more people working today than in 2000, and all of it is among the foreign-born. The native-born, and that's why we saw the statistics before, they work much less than they used to. All of the net gain in employment. And these are very updated figures. These are from the fourth quarter of 2013. So that's what's been going on in the labor market. So I guess it seems obvious that this is an area of great vulnerability for the Democrats. The Republicans can champion themselves as the party of American workers, and the Democrats as the party of cheap labor. But they just so far can't seem to form that message. Though Ann, I think, has articulated that argument very well. Let me just say one other final point about immigration and sort of the demographics. And what this shows is the share of immigrants living in or near poverty compared to the native-born. So immigration has generally added a lot to the low-income population. In fact, 1/3 of all the children in America today in poverty live in immigrant families. About 1/3 of all the uninsured in America today are immigrants or the young child of an immigrant. They live in immigrant families, that is. About 2/3 of the growth in the uninsured in the last 12 years is new immigrants and the children they've had here. In a very real sense, the uninsurance or lack of health care insurance crisis in America is being driven by immigration. No one disputes that. The data, they ask people, are you uninsured? Are you an immigrant? When did you come to America? The current population survey does this every year, and that's where uninsured figures come from. It's an easy calculation, and it does once in a while make it into the media, but in general, no. And what this points to is one of the ways immigration helps the Democrats so much. Yes, it dramatically increases the number of Democratic voters, but it also transforms society in ways that make Democratic arguments heard all the more sympathetically by even middle-of-the-road voters. Well, we have all these uninsured people. We have this massive increase in poverty among children. We've got to do something about this. Now, most of the people in this room would, of course, rightly resist, calls for bigger government. But the point here is, a lot of Americans will say, we've got to do something about it. We can't let all these people be uninsured. What about all those kids in poverty? And no one will discuss it as explicitly a function of immigration policy. And as you can see here, immigrants have a higher welfare use rate, and they also have much significantly lower tax liability. That's what makes it hard, not impossible. Doesn't mean Republicans can't do outreach, but it makes it hard for Republican small government arguments to resonate in a lot of immigrant communities, because use of social services tends to be relatively high and tax liability tends to be low. So I'll skip my conclusions. You guys can read that. I know we all want to hear what Ann has to say, but just recognize it's difficult to think of an issue more important to conservatives than limiting legal immigration. As the presentation Gwen showed you, this is stuff on the projections. Legal immigration is the main problem for the Republican Party in terms of votes. It's going to add about, if that Senate bill came through, about over 30 million new potential voters in the next 20 years. And even without that, you're looking at about 15 million new. That's people who've been here long enough that they would have gotten citizenship or could be citizens, and they'd be old enough to vote. So the impact is enormous. Just in about 20 years, you get 15 million new legal immigrants under the current system of new voters. And that's at a time when about most elections are decided by about 5 million votes at the presidential level, and at the state and local level, the impact is even bigger. Thank you.